Hi, how's it going, everyone? Good afternoon. I'm Henry Yoshida. I am the CEO and co-founder of Rocket Dollar. We are a part of the Retired.com family of companies. And thank you for joining the webinar this afternoon. So I noticed, I told myself we were going to start at exactly 1 p.m. Central, and then I realized that it was 1:01 when I hit that. But sorry for being a little bit late. But thank you for joining at Rocket Dollar. I know that if you join this webinar, it's because you're in our database of contacts. So you may be a prospective customer, you may be an existing customer, or you may be someone who got the invitation to the webinar and registered via your email. So I appreciate you guys taking time out of your afternoon. And we're going to be pretty quick and compact. And I have one of my teammates, Tristan Villa, who's actually monitoring the Q&A side of it as well. So feel free to send in questions related to what's specifically on the slide or just maybe in general. If it's very technical and or account specific, then we may just ask that we can get back to you at a different time, on a scheduled call and so forth, just to make sure, because the question and answers are kind of for the general audience. But without further ado, at Rocket Dollar, we are a specialized IRA provider. So our IRAs allow people to do alternative and private investments as opposed to public stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Keep the same tax benefits of an IRA account, all types, Roth, traditional, inherited, SEP, you name it, to make private and alternative investments. So thank you very much for joining. And we'll do a quick overview here, about 30 minutes, and then we will stay on. Both Tristan and I will both answer questions in the Q&A, and I can do some of them here verbally after the fact for about 15 minutes or so as well. And then, as usual, we'll have our information, and you're more than welcome to write us a direct email and or schedule a call if you have questions that are just very specific to you. I know these accounts sometimes get technical and or people just want some of their own very specific questions answered. So we are happy to do that. And we have a phone number if you haven't talked to us before. It's 855-762-5383, which is 1-855-ROCKET-D. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. And so uh, couldn't navigate the slides for a second. But, basic question, of course, is what is an IRA? And I know that if you're on this call, you probably know what they are, but they're essentially accounts. And the way I view them a little bit differently, instead of just saying it's an individual retirement account, I view them as a sort of a relationship that you have with the IRS to where they give you certain tax benefits for having money in these types of accounts in return for you adhering to a couple of guidelines. So it was created back in 1974, so just over 50 years old for the IRA now. The I stands for individual, so it's tied to you and not your company. So a lot of people fund an IRA by virtue of rolling an old company 401k into it. And there is technically no restriction on the number of IRAs that you have. So you could have an IRA for your traditional stock bond type of investments with a provider in the traditional incumbent space, but then have one where you may do something like purchase a rental property as an investment, make an investment into a private company, participate in a small real estate syndication, and so forth, using an IRA. And you can have that one with just us, for example. So you contribute to the IRA if you have US based income. So that's a question we get a lot. You do not have to be living in the US, but you have to have US based income. And then, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of good to know now that we're in the second half of the year that the contribution limits for cash for 2025 are $7,000 and $8,000 if you're over the age of 50. But again, the vast majority of people usually end up initially seeding that IRA or getting the big chunks of money in because they roll old company 401ks as they progress through their career into the IRA. But you could actually put another $7,000 into that account. So if you hadn't thought about that for this year, maybe something to kind of consider. And depending on your situation, you could get a small tax deduction for that as well, but you could talk to your tax advisor. So when we say alternative investments at Rocket Dollar, what we refer to is essentially just self-directed IRAs allow you to do alternative investments. So those are investments that just sit outside of the stock market, New York Stock Exchange world. And then since we are not an investment advisor, the all of our customers come to us to create an IRA to do a private investment of which they've already sourced, diligenced, research, and have intent to invest in on their own. So, what does that mean for your retirement accounts? So Really, you can do any sort of active and passive investment, but if it's a alternative or private investment, it just means it's not fully publicly registered in the way that we view stocks, bonds, and mutual funds that trade on major exchanges. Um, so just wanted to point that out there. You can access alternatives. They move differently than the stock market. So this goes into the maybe why you might be considering a Rocket Dollar account is that maybe you've done well in the stock market, or maybe you're over concentrated, and or you may just look for an opportunity to diversify into an investment that won't necessarily track towards that. So, it's probably safe to say that a single family rental property in the suburbs of Austin, Texas, where I live, will not track along with the large cap S&P 500 stocks, for example. So, and as long as the investment is legally named in the IRA, you can retain those tax benefits by holding them in an IRA. And this next one kind of gets into the what can your IRA hold? And the better way to answer this question is actually by listing or indicating to you guys what your IRA can not hold by virtue of IRS rules. So, um, what's allowed are things like real estate, like private equity, venture capital startups. So you can be an LP and a venture capital or a private equity fund, or you can make an angel investment into a small technology startup directly. We have ways that people can invest in crypto using our IRAs, but we have a fully integrated crypto company, sister company called Bitcoin IRA. So if you're just looking to do Bitcoin or ETH or Solana with staking, for example, then you can go to that Bitcoin IRA side. But if you do crypto with us, it's because you might be more interested in, for example, in holding your own wallet and or using the exchange that you're familiar or comfortable or like the interface for. So you could do that inside of a Rocket Dollar account. And then the other ones are just lesser known precious metals, private lending, energy partnerships, and so forth. So really anything that's allowed by the IRS, and the way the IRS actually defines what's allowed is by actually listing what you can't invest in. So they don't actually have a list of these are all the things that you can invest in at the IRS or the ERISA level. They just have a listing of things that you can't invest in. So anything that's not within these three that are listed here, the S corps, because of taxation issues related to that, or insurance, or collectibles. So I just define those as show off assets. So like the classic cars, the baseball cards, artwork that you have on your wall, jewelry, and I'm not sure if people still buy these a ton anymore, but let's say like non-fungible tokens as well, so NFTs. So anything that is like a show-off asset, collectibles, insurance, and S corps are the three defined items that are not allowed to be owned inside of an IRA. So if it's not included in that, whether it's a public stock or bond at a traditional incumbent financial services provider, or an alternative investment of which Rocket Dollar IRAs allow you to hold, those are allowed to be held inside of an IRA. That makes sense. I know that's a kind of a quick run through of how that works, but um, that's we wanted to define that because the number one question we get as a general on on our phone lines is actually like, I didn't know that you could own a private investment. So how are you allowed to do that and no one else can? And the reality is that our custodian, our own company, our own trust company, Digital Trust, we specialize in custodying private and alternative investments. So we have roughly $11.4 billion in overall customer assets across our entire customer base. So we have customers in all 50 states and all US territories. And we obviously service tens of thousands of IRA accounts with an aggregate total of over $11.4 billion. And our trust company chooses to work in the private alternative space. So if you have an IRA account and that provider maybe says you can't own that single family rental property inside of your IRA with us, it's because their trust and custody company has chosen to only custody public assets and so forth. So it's not we have a special license and other people don't. It's just that we specialize in custodying one type of asset, and maybe your current provider, if it's a more traditional one, specializes in just holding public stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but how do you fund those traditional IRAs? And again, the biggest way for people to roll larger chunks is to roll over old corporate 401ks. There's or 401k like accounts is maybe a better way. I should probably put it on the slide because if you work for the government or a educational institution or hospital, you may have a not a quite a 401k, but an account like a 401k. And if you leave the employment of those organizations, then you have the ability to roll those monies into your IRA. So it's the same tax status of exactly what you had over there. So if you're making pre-tax contributions into your 401k over 10 years working at a company and you leave and you decide you want to roll that into your own IRA with us here at Rocket Dollar or any other provider that does IRAs, you would also have a pre-tax pre-tax money rolling into that IRA as well. So it's probably where you have the most retirement funds already because the amounts you can put into a 401k are $23,500 a year automatically from your paycheck versus what we talked about 3 slides ago, which is $7,000, the ability to contribute in 2025. So why would you do this? And I think probably people in the audience know this. So I'll go kind of quick here, but it's just great long-term tax benefits. So you're able to put money into the account. You don't have to pay taxes currently. If it's a Roth, you may even be able to have access to the money tax-free after 5 years. You could take advantage of current low tax rates, for example, and you'll just basically be have monies in a tax deferred way inside of your traditional IRA for the long haul. So again, I started this presentation by saying that the IRA was created in 1974 as sort of an agreement between the taxing regulatory authority, the IRS, and the individual retail investor. And that is that if you put money into these accounts and you're willing to leave them there for up until a certain age, for example, then you will not have to pay tax on the monies that your investments generate within these accounts until you start withdrawing the money, which means that you get to leave money in there to keep compounding on top of itself versus, let's say, having to pay some small tax burden every year for holding the investment. So traditional IRAs. The second most popular account that we have are the Roth IRAs. So there are restrictions for that. That's additional levels of an agreement between you and the taxing regulatory authority, which is that one, you have to make a certain income level or below to contribute to a Roth IRA. But again, you would put money in after tax, it would grow tax deferred, and then after 5 years, you're able to withdraw those monies without paying taxes at all. So you may choose to do that if you believe that tax rates today are lower than they might be in the future. And I think the better way to look at it is that maybe you pay more in taxes today because you might be fully employed working at a high income job. And at some point down the road, you may be working not quite full time or not in this same high income job. Like you could be transitioning into a different phase of your life, let's say partial retirement and or just running a small business and not paying yourself the same salary you might be making as a management consultant today, for example. So again, just something to kind of lay out here that we offer traditional IRAs and we offer Roth IRAs here at Rocket Dollar. Now, getting into the specifics of our accounts and how they work and what kinds we offer the self-directed IRAs that we talked about, but we actually have two different flavors of those self-directed IRAs. So our first one that I want to describe here is the direct custody, where Digital Trust is the custodian of the IRA. It's a little more direct and it's easier. So if you're someone who might get into the private and alternative investing world, but you'd like to do so with your IRA or old 401k monies, the direct custodial account might be the better option for you. It's just more direct. It's easier to manage if you're just kind of getting into this alternative investment using your IRA money uh, space. And if you're going to do maybe under 10 transactions a year, and I want to delineate here and sort of clarify that transactions does not mean investments. It means transactions related to your investments. So I'll explain that in a future slide using a real sort of case study that we go through. But the types of deals you can do in a custodial IRA, passive deals would include things like syndications. You'd become a limited partner in a private equity or venture capital fund. You'd do a one-time direct angel investment into a small private company and so forth. So to do that on our side, you basically open the account, and at rocketdollar.com, we have a 7-page onboarding workflow with 9 clicks that you go into. So very standard information, name, identifying information, and then at the end, we would ask you to verify using showing us your ID, and then we do a verification that you're you. And then when you're ready to do an investment, you have your subscription documents, you give that to us, and it gets improved. And then our custodian, because we're the direct custody of your IRA monies, we would then wire the money to that particular investment on your behalf. And then it's now an investment that is owned by your IRA dollars. So that's the direct custodial account. Um, the one that we sell the most for, the one that we started with, and the one that we're kind of known in the industry for, um, is actually the checkbook control. So I don't necessarily like that term checkbook control too much, but it just indicates that there's a bank account. So I'll explain the structure of that here in a second. So with the checkbook control, your IRA invests into one entity. So you open an IRA with us, same onboarding flow, except that you'd be selecting that you're doing a checkbook account. And on our side, we actually use technology and we automatically open a trust account or an LLC in on your behalf that is inside of that self-directed IRA. So in this example here with the flow in the upper right above me here, we're using the trust. And then the other thing that we do is that that trust entity automatically opens a bank account. So we have a sister, we have a bank portal, portal into a bank, and we automatically open a bank account in the name of that trust inside of your IRA for you. So all this is done on the back end. You don't have to actually do any of these things. We do it for you. I'm just showing you the visual here so you know how that works. And then when you have that bank account, now you have the ability to do the same transfer of an old IRA into our account here or a rollover of a 401k into it. And then once the money is in the partner bank account, now you actually have the control over that bank account to disperse funds and make private and alternative investments. So let's just say, for example, you were going to do the same investment that requires a subscription document, but this time the subscription document will be done in the name of the trust. And then when you've executed the agreement that you're going to make a $50,000 investment into this private equity fund as a limited partner, then they would give you funding instructions on where to send the money. Well, in this case, you go back into our Rocket Dollar portal and you're able to send your out an ACH or a wire yourself. So I mentioned earlier that these accounts are better if you have a lot of transactions because the case study that we're going to go through is for someone who might be using real estate. So I allude to it here in the pros section. It's faster once the account is set up. So just a little bit more mechanics involved. The trust is created, the bank account's created. So it's not as instantaneous. But as I mentioned earlier, Rocket Dollar will do all that for you behind the scenes. And you now have a checkbook within your IRA or the ability to disperse funds via wire ACH into the investment. So it just takes a little bit more on the setup. And is it more complicated? Maybe sometimes, but it works for certain types of people, and we'll get into that here in the next slide. So on the checkbook IRA, it's really, really great for real estate investors if you manage even just one property, because for those of you in the audience today, if you are a real estate investor, you know that owning one property even means that you have many, many transactions throughout a calendar year to operate that property. So you have a rent check coming in, you have a security deposit coming in, you might need to disperse funds to get to do upkeep or to pay for the property manager, to pay property taxes and so forth. So even owning one property, we recognize that you're going to have more than 10 transactions. So the checkbook IRA or the checkbook control IRA is a better option for you because you could actually just easily give out the wiring instructions for your bank account so people can send you money, or the ACH instructions, and they can set up a bridge to you. And likewise, you can set up a bridge to be able to disperse funds via ACH or wire. In the custodial model, as a contrast, if you own real estate, you'd have to be asking our custodian to disperse funds and or receive these funds for every transaction. So again, you can see how that becomes cumbersome, and there'd be more than 10 per year tied to even one investment property. So uh, I also mentioned earlier that people use our accounts for cryptocurrency trading and other types of investments. So let me give a little bit of an explanation of how that works, because I only very quickly talked about if someone opens an account with us, does checkbook control, they automatically get the trust and the bank account created. Well, that information of the bank account and the trust entity allows our advanced cryptocurrency investors, so the ones who have a particular exchange that they want to use to make and buy and purchase and invest in cryptocurrencies. I'll just use a hypothetical example here. Let's say it's Kraken, for example. You really want to use the interface at Kraken um, to be able to trade, but you also really, really want to use your IRA tax deferred dollars to do that. So you'd open the checkbook control account at Rocket Dollar. You'd get the trust and the bank account automatically created for you. And then you have the ability to go to that exchange of your choice. In this hypothetical example, it's Kraken. And you would open a business account at Kraken and you would fund it using the bank account that your Rocket Dollar IRA owns. And then monies that you transfer from that bank account into the exchange are also treated for tax purposes as being inside of your Rocket Dollar IRA. So it has all the accoutrements of the tax advantages and so forth. So that's the mechanics of how that works. And again, if you're on this call and that's the part that you're interested in, schedule a call. We could talk you through a little bit. We have some diagrams as well. If you're a real estate investor, you can call in and ask us how the mechanics of that work. But we've found that the checkbook control one, especially since we create the trust entity and the bank account is created for you and accessible and managed from inside of our portal, um, is really a game changer and sort of a real desired type of IRA structure for an alternative investor who might be doing anything from real estate to trading cryptocurrencies on an exchange that they choose. So again, I mentioned this before, but the fourth bullet point, of course, is that the IRA trust, we create that on your behalf. The bank account we create on your behalf, and I have a couple slides that talk about the speed and sort of the industry leading position that we're in for that. But so I won't go into that right now, but I'll do that in a couple slides from now. It's a little bit longer to set up for the first investment because we have to get those other components set up for you. So it does take an extra few days for us to get that set up for you. And again, this is just the same diagram that you saw on the last slide, just here again for reference. But the self-directed traditional IRA, we automatically create the trust, we automatically create that bank account. And once you have those two entities, you would be able to transfer in IRA dollars from or old 401k dollars into it. And then you control how you disperse the funds into the private investments of your choice. And as long as it's being made from inside that bank account, which is inside of our IRA, then the investment itself is also treated as an investment inside of an IRA. So I know that's a lot that I just explained there. So that's a pretty heavy slide. So, but if you have questions, you can also chat with Tristan, who's manning that side of it for us. But you know, after we've done tens of thousands of these accounts and managed billions of dollars on behalf of customers, one of the things that we've gotten feedback about what people liked about us and what they didn't like about the direct custodial. So our competitors, they do these types of accounts, but they charge higher fees than we do, quite frankly. We view ourselves as a financial technology company, not just a financial company. So we've done a lot of work on the back end to integrate the trust creation, to automate and integrate the bank account portal so you can operate that, where our competitors are charging the exact same fee, and in a lot of cases even higher. And then once you get the account set up, the only part that they can do is the IRA. So then you have to get an LLC or trust set up on your own. And then they also send you to an outside bank to go operate the account, to get the account opened. And then you would be going to a separate bank portal, not working within your IRA portal like you do with us. And then if you do a direct custodial account, we've found that since the custodian is the one who has to review the investment documents because they're the ones ultimately dispersing the funds on your behalf. So now I'm switching back to the custodial, that sometimes they get stuck or it gets stuck in the queue and they're slow to review the deal and approve it and disperse your funds. And obviously, once you've committed to doing a private and alternative deal, one of the paramount things that you need to do is get that deal funded because you've already made this commitment to fund it. So on our side, we have a SLA, a service level agreement, that in a 48-hour business window, we will do a full deal review and then disperse those funds on your behalf. So that's what we do here at Rewired.com, Rocket Dollar Digital Trust, our trust and custody company. And then again, I already alluded to this. I just jumped the gun because it's such a big differentiator. But the competitors charge the same or higher fee. We do it as a flat rate also, and I'll show the pricing chart in a second. But we create the trust. And we also automatically integrate the bank partner. And then once those are created, you're not going to an outside bank partner site. You're actually staying within our portal at Rocket Dollar, um, which is protected using a two-factor authentication code to get into the portal with a PIN number. So it's a passwordless architecture, very, very secure. We've maintained a SOC 2 Type 2 licensing or certification for the past several years, and we're really, really proud of that. And you would be accessing the bank portal from within ours, so no going and closing one window, going to another one that's not has nothing to do with us here at Rocket Dollar. And then if you happen to have one of the checkbook type of a control accounts with us, you have to purchase that at our gold tier level. So if you have that, then we have a priority phone number for service that you can call during business hours, mostly centered around Central Time because we try to accommodate the whole country. So we just use a Central Time Zone window for business hours. And then even if you're a silver client, you could just use a scheduling link and schedule a 15-minute call with service, and they can help you with walking you through the transfers or getting any of the things that you need done. And so, kind of moving on here, I talked about this earlier, but why is it the fastest setup in the industry? Well, we essentially have an onboarding flow that's effectively 7 screens, and then you click and fill in information, all identifying information that you know. And we've done this thousands and thousands of times, so people can enter the information in 5 minutes or less. Maybe the one holdup might be that you may not know the information for the beneficiary you want to use, or you may open an account and you may not have your ID handy with you. So if you had those things, you'd be able to get through the process very, very quickly. So it's just all online, all tech focused, and you're able to get the account, give us the information you need. We process it and open that account, and you'll get an account number right then, which then allows you to go and initiate a transfer to fund this new IRA to get invested into the alternatives of your choice. And then again, after that, you fund the account. So there's a portal inside. So we've done transfers away from custodians. I think at this point, we're at about 300 or so custodians that we've moved money from. So our team and our system has experience working with whatever various paperwork or whatever requirements are needed for you to transfer $50,000 of the cash from your existing Fidelity IRA to move to Rocket Dollar so you can make this $50,000 real estate syndication investment. So that's just step two. You'd fund the account. And then after it's there, depending on whether you have a checkbook control account or a direct custodial account, you would be submitting the paperwork to us for that 48-hour business review. And then we disperse the funds from your IRA in the custodial account. If it's the checkbook one, we give you instructions on how to fill out that subscription agreement. And then you're in a position to go and disperse the funds through the portal. So probably no different than how you're doing alternative investments now. You fill out a subscription doc, then they give you the funding information, and then you would go in and uh, submit and send them an ACH or send them a wire to fund that particular investment that you committed to. And I'll leave it here for a second right now so you can see here. This is just the difference between the silver and gold. For the checkbook account that we've been talking about, the checkbook control, that's only available at the gold tier, but you would be making transactions inside of that account to go into your investments. So I mentioned earlier that you have a gold support line, which is answered during business hours, Monday through Friday, excluding holidays, and we kind of follow a bank holiday schedule there. And you get 4 free wire transfers out to go make those investments. There are no fees for wiring monies in. And then for a small one-time fee, if you are someone looking to do a Roth IRA conversion, we do that at the gold account level. The custodial account is actually the silver level membership with us, and that's the one that allows you have one or two just passive investment deals where you just want to become an LP, but you want to use IRA or 401k money to do that. You would open a silver account, you can do those investments, and it's probably like a somewhat of a long-term hold. So it could be a 1 year hold to a 3 year hold and so forth. So that's probably the appropriate account type for you. But those are the pricing structures. And if you're on our webinar today, I think that my team member Chris will send a follow-up email out with a code. I think it's webinar 25, but you'll have it in an email after the fact for registering and joining us today that will give you $100 off of the sign up, regardless of what account tier you purchase with us here at Rocket Dollar. And then this is just more of a direct explanation. And I do recognize if it's coming up in the Q&A part that I didn't talk about the solo 401ks. If if you're someone who's looking at us and interested in that product, it's because you know that you qualify. So I just didn't want to get into that for the broad audience that's here on the webinar today. But the silver products are just the direct custody IRA, whether it's traditional or Roth. And the gold product suite is primarily that checkbook control, checkbook IRA, which is available in both traditional or Roth, or the direct custody IRA, but you just want expedited service and the ability to have access to that priority support line. So you could purchase a direct custody account at that level. And then again, if you do the solo 401k at the checkbook level, then we do the Form 5500 filing for you. But again, if those terms are familiar to you, it's because you know that you qualify for a solo K, but I didn't want to get into too much of that for the broader audience today, and so forth. And uh, you know, for us, how do you get started? We also do what's called in-kind transfer. So I used to do a little bit of a poll session as well on here, but it just took too much time. That some people may be here in the webinar because they're with a competitor self-directed IRA platform and they're interested in moving from that. They already have private investments in an IRA. So we turn this off and on at different times a year, but right now we are currently supporting in-kind transfer. So this is someone who has a alternatives capable self-directed IRA at another provider that does alternatives IRAs like we do at Rocket Dollar, and you want to move that account plus the investments over to us. We just review those on a case by case basis, but we're doing that now. But for the most part, it's an online sign up. You could transfer in funds once the account's established with us from any existing IRA or cash from an existing IRA, or you can move money from a previous employer 401k, and then you can supplement that with the contributions that are allowed on a cash basis on an annual basis. So that's the $7,000 this year. If you're over 50, that's $8,000 and so forth. And I know that for probably most of our customer base, that doesn't seem like it's too much, but if you do that year over year and just automatically do it again, depending on your situation, could be a small tax deduction, but you also have another seven or $8,000 in a tax deferred account growing for the long haul. So it's a pretty easy contribution to make, and then you could do that right inside the portal as well. So this is the kind of last slide about how you can contact us. So the email, if you want to email us, is the info@rocketdollar.com. We man that as well. If you just go to rocketdollar.com, you could read, the hundreds of articles that we have, or explanations and FAQ articles that we've written about the mechanics of these accounts, what you can and cannot invest in. And also at that website too, you're already on our email list, but we have things like an ebook. We have things like a little bite-sized course where every day we send you an article on a self-directed IRA course, and you can kind of learn about how these accounts work. Or you can call and reach us on the phone or leave a message at the 1-855 Rocket D number, which is 762-5383. So this is the end of the prepared, and I started 1.5 minutes late, and then I was just barely over 30 minutes on that part. So why don't we, kind of open it up and leave it here for the question and answer. So Chris, maybe you could tell me what's the easiest way uh, for me to, should I just stop sharing the slides and then Tristan and I can both come on? What's easiest here?
I would probably leave the slides up in the background if it's easier for you. I can open up chat and you can do it that way, or we can have
Okay.
Tristan come on as well, whichever you prefer.
Well,
But I
okay.
think leaving that up in the background is probably the best for now.
I got it. Okay. All right. So maybe we could just have Tristan come off because he sees the question and answers, so maybe he can like go through a couple of them here, and then we'll see if we
Mhm.
can field some of them. We'll
Yeah,
just keep
so
doing it in the Q&A.
a few of the common questions that were coming through the Q&A was regarding prohibited transactions.
Oh yeah,
So let me just speak to that real quick,
yeah.
and
Please
that kind
do.
of correlates to the deal review process. So the deal review process that our custodian partner does, Digital Trust, that they do, they are strictly just looking to see if the investment that you are making is a prohibited transaction. So they're not really looking to see if it's a legitimate investment, if it's a good investment to do. They're strictly just looking if there's any risk of it being a prohibited transaction. So that's going to be, investing in a company that you may own, maybe a board member of, investing in a real estate property as your primary residence. Anything that would be considered a conflict of interest would be a prohibited transaction.
Okay. And then Tristan, do you want me to answer the ones that are here? I can see in the Q&A real quick.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I'll read them out so everyone knows. So I have an SD IRA with Bitcoin IRA, which is our sister company, as I mentioned at one point, and Digital Trust is our custodian for both. That's also our company. If I start an account with Rocket Dollar, do I leave my funds there and they can get transferred to you? So if you do start a new account at Rocket Dollar, it's still a custodian to custodian transfer, but obviously it's easier because we're just allocating from one side of our own house to the other. But you could move some money over from that Bitcoin IRA side if you have excess cash there that you want to do in Rocket Dollar. And then at some point later, you could also transfer in any monies from an outside IRA as well. So yes, the answer is yes. Essentially, you could do that, and it'd be easy. You'd still have to fill out the transfer form and whatnot, but obviously we can streamline and control that process because it's all within our house for both sides at Bitcoin IRA and Rocket Dollar. And then Jasper, just do you need to open an account at Rocket Dollar prior to looking for your deals and transactions, or can you submit buy deal requests and open an account at Rocket Dollar afterwards? So the thing is that if you know you're going to do a private and alternative investment, like it's upcoming, like if you have no idea what you may invest in now, you don't necessarily need to open the account with us right now. I'll be upfront and say that because we do have a monthly maintenance fee. So if you don't have no clue when you might do a private alternative investment and you think it may be next year, then it doesn't make sense to open an account. But if you know you're getting to the point where you are going to commit to doing some deal, remember there is a lag time. The getting the account opened and an account number with us is pretty instantaneous, but getting funds allocated or getting transferred into the account is a little bit of it takes a little bit of time. So you maybe want to just give yourself, we try to tell people anywhere from 2 to even 4 weeks before. So if you know you're going to commit to be an LP in a private deal, let's say at the end of August, then you'd probably want to be thinking about opening that account and getting it set up and getting it funded now on the Rocket Dar side, if that helps. And then this is an add-on question. So can the ACH sweep be set up to transfer funds back to the regular IRA so I can earn interest on those funds? So let's say on a monthly basis. So a lot easier to do if you have the checkbook control one. But I know Tristan said, let him take a stab at it because he actually deals with that question a lot more than I do.
Yes, so that's possible. Our support team can support that. It's really just a matter of being communicative, working with our support team, filling out the correct documents, and working with them to get that submitted. So that way that can come through and work on I think you said a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that I did see that I want to mention is will the presentation deck be shared later? So if you guys send an email to info@rocketdollar.com, the email you see there, requesting a copy of the presentation, we can go ahead and send you a PDF of it from there. Can you repeat the question about gaining monthly interest? So the custodian partner we work with, Digital Trust, and the banking partner we work with do not offer any interest on these accounts. What a lot of our clients do is they will do a partial transfer, say from their Fidelity IRA, and use that partial balance to make their alternative investment and leave their remainder balance with Fidelity to stay active, in the market. I believe the original question was, can I send funds back and forth on a monthly basis, so those dollars can stay active? And the answer to that was yes.
Yeah, I hope that helps. Sorry, that was our fault. We didn't actually read the question out and took it away. But yeah, so again, that's the reason why that checkbook account works more for that side, because again, all that is a transaction. So it may just be one investment that, let's say you did a real estate syndication. So I like using the example because it's one that I do personally, but real estate syndication that goes into purchasing self-storage properties and they pay out income on a monthly basis. So that income comes back into the Rocket Dollar IRA, but again, it sits idle here. So you can work with our support team and set up recurring transactions that are linked back to your outside IRA. So you can have a money market holding over there, for example, and so forth. So that's I think that was the spirit of the original question. That helps. Yeah, I hope that helps, Tristan. Thank you very much. I know that you hammered through a lot of the questions that came in throughout, and we don't have any open ones now. But again, that code I mentioned it earlier. If you're still with us here, it's webinar 25. So, and I see the question there.
Yes, the monthly fees can be viewed on our website, rocketdollar.com. There's a pricing tab from there. If you would like to schedule a call so we can have a further conversation regarding, what goes into these fees, how can I pay them, stuff like that, please feel free to give our support team a call.
Yeah. And then I just went back to that slide that kind of talks about. I guess I didn't highlight that line by line. I went through more of the check marks, not as much the top line part. So the sign up fee for a silver account is 360, for a gold account it's 600, and then on the monthly maintenance side, it's 30 and 40 respectively between silver and gold. So that's how that works. But the webinar 25 code will give $100 off of the sign up, regardless of the account type someone opens with us. Oh, so you get a monthly receipt from us. So there's an automated email. So I get one. I have 3 accounts with Rocket Dollar, and it comes in a formatted email with a little itemized breakdown of the monthly. Thank you for asking the follow up, and sorry I misunderstood. Yeah. Well, I think we are there. Let me take this part off because it's weird to see myself floating as a floating head there. But no, I appreciate everyone joining us for today. Um, Thank you, Tristan, for answering the questions, and thanks everyone for joining. And then, reach out to us via phone call, email. We're happy to just answer your questions. I mean, I think that what we like to do too is that we sort of come at this from an educational standpoint. Whether you choose to do business with us and we have the ability to earn that, that's great. We do know that at least on the checkbook side, we have it fully integrated from the creation of the trust entity, as well as the integration and operation ongoing for the bank account. So that's a really, really big thing, and we get a lot of customers that sign up with us for that. So that's the main thing. But we're also happy to just answer general questions related to self-directed IRAs. And then, you know, I see a question there that if you have a solo K, do you need an SDIRA? You do not. So, you don't need to have both. In my case, the reason why I have the three, I have Bitcoin IRA traditional, and I have both a Roth and a traditional Rocket Dollar IRA.
Yeah, so this question, Robin, how do I know that my tenants paid their rent on time? So if you have a checkbook account, you do have access to the bank account with Grasshopper Bank. You're able to share, account information with them so that way they can make those mobile payments to your account. So I would say that's probably the best way to see if payments have been made directly to your account. So yeah, if you guys do have any other additional questions, like Henry had mentioned, our phone number is 855-762-5383. And we'd love to answer any of y'all's questions.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys.